Wounded but Not Broken, with host Patrick Scroggins. As a U.S. Army attack helicopter pilot deployed in Iraq, Patrick faced a devastating crash, which resulted in him dying, losing a leg, and a slew of broken bones. Patrick's story of rehabilitation has helped others to overcome their own obstacles. Each week, Patrick recounts stories of inspiration and interviews guests who have overcome remarkable obstacles. This is Wounded but Not Broken, with your host, Patrick Scroggins.
Hey everybody, welcome to Wounded but Not Broken here on this Monday night. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know mine was long. I went to the Dallas Chiefs game and it was kind of brutal. But got through it, got home, and sucks that Dallas lost, but that is what it is. With everything going on in the country right now, all the negative stuff, I think I look forward to this Monday night at 6:00 because I get to bring a positive spin to everything. I get to bring on here with me some of the, greatest heroes of our time, whether people that stepped up and answered the nation's call to do what others wouldn't. And, I got to go to the football field and see the top 1% athletes play. Well, now this is the top 1% of the Americans, because these are the men and women that stepped up and answered the nation's call. And tonight on the podcast, I have Joshua Sust. He's a Marine, and I'm going to let him start in with his story. Josh?
Oh, thanks for having me, Pat.
Man, thanks for coming.
My name is Josh. Yeah, so I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Mom and Dad got divorced around when I was 13, 14 years old, and that's kind of like when my path started going down the wrong direction. You know what I mean? I got involved in the wrong things. I was drinking a lot, partying. Didn't really know where my life was going to go. And then I just decided to join the Marine Corps. And 9/11 was a big part of that, too. I just wanted to serve and give back. I just felt like I had to. It was a purpose of mine. I just wanted to serve our country. And to be honest, I didn't have anything else going for me at the time. So, I was like, why not? What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
So after,
so September 11th, just really quick, September 11th, on that day, I mean, what did you feel that day? What changed inside of you to make you say, man, I want to join the Marine Corps?
I didn't especially think about the Marine Corps. I just wanted to serve my country. I don't know, man, just seeing the images of people jumping out of those buildings and watching the towers fall. I was in the 8th grade when that happened. So I remember the teacher bringing in the TV on that big roller thing that was strapped in back in the day. And then, just watching all this chaos going on. And then once you figured out, a terrorist attack that attacked our country, I was like, I just have to do something. I don't know, just something about it in my blood, in my system, in my mindset is just like, hey, you need to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was much the same for me. I was a little bit older, but yeah, it's just a feeling that I guess you can't really describe. It's just like your calling, it's just like, it's what you're meant to do.
Yeah. And then like I said, I was hanging out with the wrong people, involved in the wrong things. And my life wasn't going very well. It was going in two directions, either prison, jail, or dead, because my friends that I was involved with then, half of them are addicted to heroin or have OD'd. I was no different than them. I never did heroin, but I was definitely doing pills. But I just realized at that age that, hey, it was time for me to make a choice. And I joined a DEP program my junior year of high school, and then 2 weeks after I graduated, I was gone to boot camp.
Gotcha. So how did Marine Corps come into a factor? Did you look at all the branches?
I did. So my dad was in the Army, and he really wanted me to join the Air Force. And I was like, no. And he's like, what about the Army? And I was like, possibly. And then I just talked to the Marine recruiter, and he just kind of spun it up and gave me the spiel and said I was going to travel the world, get all the girls, and I was sold, man. I was 18 years old, just full of it. You know what I mean? I was just ready to go. And here's the naive part about it, is when I joined the Marine Corps, I thought the Marine Corps was only infantry. I didn't know there was any other jobs out there.
Well, every Marine Corps soldier's a rifleman, right? Rifleman first, isn't that your motto?
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah, I know. I got you.
I beg to differ with that motto. But, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it was just all the commercials you saw, all the war stuff in Iraq. You know, I just thought Marines were grunts. I had no idea there was, like, supply and motor T and all that jazz. So when I joined, I was like, yeah, I want to be an infantryman. And they're like, okay.
Okay, good luck.
Right? I mean, they needed bodies at the time, so why not?
Right. So how did that culture shock, that initial culture shock when you reported got off that bus? How'd that go?
Oh man, it was crazy. I had a drill instructor come right on the bus, so I took a bus from Louisville, Kentucky, all the way down to Parris Island, South Carolina. And the drill instructor got on the bus, was yelling at us, told us to keep our heads down, and then we went up to the yellow footprints, and that's when the fun started. And I just remember calling my mom, and it's just like, I think you said, like, this recruit has arrived safely in Parris Island. Please don't send anything, and I will contact you when I can. And that was it. And that's how the whole Marine Corps started for me. You know, it was definitely a wake-up call because, like I said, I didn't have that discipline at the time. I didn't have the leadership skills that I eventually learned. I didn't have any of that. You know, just this fresh kid that was cocky and thought he was gangster and all kinds of other stuff at the time I was in high school. And now, like, my whole world was about to change more than I would ever know.
Right. So not to get off topic or not to get into your flow of things, but so, you know, you said you were hanging around with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things. That was a big wake-up call for you. Do you think?
Yes.
I mean, do you think, and looking back now, that's absolutely the best decision that you made?
Oh, it was 100%. Even everything that's happened to me, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, if it wasn't for the Marine Corps, who knows where I'd be?
Yeah.
And
I hear
friends that I used to. Yeah, you know what I mean. I got friends I used to hang out with back in the day, and they'll be like, "Hey, man, you changed. Like, you're not who you once were." I was like, "Well, yeah, that's kind of how it's supposed to be." And they're like, "You think you're better than us?" I was like, "I don't think I'm better than you. I just think I made the right choices, and it got me out of the situation that you're in now." And you know, it's a shame to see your buddies that you were hanging out with and that you cared about and were great friends, and their whole adult life is just the drugs, man. It's just crazy.
You know, it's horrible. I know I did a Veterans Day speech in my hometown on Veterans Day, and to catch up on some of the stories of the people that I grew up with, and to hear where they're at in life, it's saddening. I mean, it just makes you feel bad for them, but you can't, because I mean, you make your own choices, right? I mean,
correct.
It's not. I mean, you got to put it on the person. I mean, you make a bad decision, you got to suffer the consequences, and that's just kind of how you got to look at it. But yeah, it's a very difficult thing, especially growing up in a rural area with where drugs are just, overtake everything, and it's getting worse.
You know, at the time, we didn't know what we were doing. We thought we were just having fun, right? We didn't know that popping pills, Xanax, and Percocets and Oxys would lead to the heroin epidemic. You know what I mean? It's just, you just get addicted to that feeling, and then you can't get it anymore because the pharmacies were just handing out those types of pills left and right, kind of like how the VA does it now. And they took that away, and then what else do they have to fall on? It's heroin. So I'm just thankful enough that I realized even after I got hurt that, hey, I need to get off this shit just so I don't go down the path I was.
Well, kudos to you, man, for making that choice and getting out of that environment. I know, it's much of the same. That's what I was trying to tell the kids, in my hometown is there's a lot more to life than sitting around with puffing on something or putting something in your body that doesn't need to be there. But, at the end of the day, that's a decision that everybody's got to make on their own. And, I would really advocate, for people like that can't make that decision. I think the military is a phenomenal tool to get your act together and to, get your life on the right track. But so you get to Parris Island, you get the culture shock, and then go from there. Yeah,
so I get to Parris Island, get the culture shock. training daily, just breaking you down and building you back up. And then 3 months later, you graduate, you know, and you're officially a Marine. And then you're cockier as hell. You know what I mean? Your chest is all held up high. And they teach you how to walk again, and it's yes, sir, no, ma'am, by your leave, all this other stuff. You know, I was just thankful that, hey, I did it. You know, this is supposed to be the hardest thing you can do military branch-wise in the enlisted service is Marine boot camp, right? So I was like, okay, I completed this task. And that really gave me a warm and fuzzy, because I think even when I was hanging out with the wrong people, I was always looking for, I don't know, maybe an older brother or a father-like figure to help guide my way, and I never had that. And I think there's a lot of kids out there now that don't have that. And like you said, the military is a great purpose to just do your 4 years, learn everything you can, and the bonds you get with these people, it's hard to explain, because you get thrown in with the most type of random men and women now that you could ever imagine, and you know, you guys become brothers. And you probably would never hung out with them or talked to them if it wasn't for the Marine Corps.
Absolutely, polar opposites,
or any
polar opposite personalities. And and the Marine Corps, I will say the Marine Corps probably, you know, does it the best as far as the esprit de corps, the pride, the, you know, the fulfillment. I mean, the Marines eat it up, and they, you know, it's really awe-inspiring to watch every year the Marine Corps ball, and you see social media blow up with the Marine Corps birthday. I mean, it's, you know, it's awesome. And I have a lot of friends as Marines, or you being one of them, and, you know, I mean, we all just come together. It's like a big family, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, so after you graduated basic, you went on to what?
I went on to SOI, which is down at Camp Geiger in Lejeune, North Carolina, and that was another 3 months of training. And I thought boot camp was rough, and then I got to SOI, and that was a different story.
Yeah, because you're expected to perform at a different level at that point.
Correct. You know, and you got sergeants, and you had to call everybody sir, and it's like, I'm a sergeant, not a sir, and all that other jazz. And just more head games and more games to play, and they're just breaking you down some more. It's like everything you learned at boot camp, just throw it away, because you're gonna learn everything new here.
Right. So SLI, for the people that don't know, what does that stand for?
Oh, that's School of Infantry.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I knew. I just wanted you to say it.
That's where all the grunts go.
Right. So, do you think? What did you learn from that school? Do you think?
Just basically how to be an infantryman Marine. You know, just the basics, the overall basics, and how to buddy rush and run the rabbit and stuff like that, shoot, communicate, because you didn't do a lot of that in boot camp. I mean, as far as shooting, you just did the rifle qual, and that was it,
right.
as I can recall. And that was with iron sights back in the day. Now it's a little different. They do it with EGCOG. But, yeah, so SOI was just kind of like the basic fundamentals of the infantry.
Yeah. And so in that school, that you said that was 3 months?
Yep, that was 3 months. And then I believe it was like a month and a half to 2 months in, then you got to choose your occupational specialty, which was like, for me, so I chose a rifleman, which is a 0311, and you can go machine gunner, mortarman, assaultman, and then I think there's another one that I can't recall.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I just stuffed out to be a grunt, so.
Right. So you get through SLI or School of Infantry, and then what was your first unit?
My first unit, I got shipped to California. I went up with 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines.
Gotcha. And then did you?
And my seniors.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So when I got to the fleet, that was a difficult change too, because first off, I was in Ohio, North Carolina, and then I go out to Camp Pendleton, and I just remember saying, like, what are those mountains? And they would laugh, like, those ain't mountains, those are hills. I'm like, what kind of hills are those? I mean, these are some steep hills. I mean, it kicked my butt. And then on top of that, my seniors were still deployed in Iraq at the time I got there. So all the Marines that were in that unit in Echo Company were all, the guys that were the RBE, so the remain behind element. so they didn't deploy. So it was kind of lackadaisy. And that all changed once they got back.
Right. Hey, we're gonna break here. We're gonna get a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're gonna continue with Josh's story and ultimately up to when he got hurt. So stay tuned.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggin.
My father was the best truck driver I've ever known in my life, like a family tradition.
I'm a truck driver myself. I drove around the state with my cat.
To be the truck driver, you not just only see where you go, you see the world in the larger perspective.
This is a really good time to be in the trucking industry. The dispatchers get good loads for them. The equipment is very new, and then it's very reliable.
At GTS Transportation, we make dreams come true by employing truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, and many other occupations. Consider joining our rapidly expanding team where we put quality, human dignity, and respect back into the workforce. Contact us by visiting our website at gtscarrier.com or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Wounded But Not Broken, hosted by Patrick Scroggin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Broadcast Network for over 19 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution has been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're here with Josh Sust, Marine, and I did have some emails wanting some of my shows to go into in kind of depth in the training, basic training, and the follow on is kind of. So I try to do that as much as possible on this show, but we're going to get to the parts that really, in my opinion, set wounded soldiers and veterans. We're getting into that part here in just a minute, to where you got your brothers to your left and to your right, and you're willing to do anything for them, and that's that whole esprit de corps and that brotherhood is what we all share, and Josh is a prime example of that. And so we're going to continue on with this story. So Josh, you get your first unit, and they were already deployed, correct? So you were part of the
they were in Iraq. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And so you didn't join them there the first time, or you did?
No, my first deployment was a MEU, so a Marine Expeditionary Unit. I did the 11th MEU out of Okinawa, or not the 11th MEU, the 31st MEU out of Okinawa, Japan. Sorry.
Gotcha. And what did you do there?
We were pretty much based in Oki. It was pretty much just be like being back in the States. They had everything we could go do. And then we went to, where did we go? We went to Thailand, and we went to Subic Bay in the Philippines, and we also trained with the Philmars.
Gotcha. And so, what was your mission doing that deployment?
The MEU is basically the 911 force of the world. So if something would pop off, example like what happened in Afghanistan, I believe the 14th MEU went there. But the president could call that MEU up and they could send them right away. So we're just kind of in the Pacific, just kind of hanging out.
Gotcha, like a QRF.
Yeah, pretty much.
Quick reactionary force. All right, so take us on from there in your career. So when you did that one, and then what was next for you?
Yeah, I did that MEU, and then my next deployment, I did another MEU. I did an 11th MEU out of San Diego, and this time we got to go a lot of places. We went to Malaysia, we went back to Thailand, Djibouti, Africa, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Did some training out there. Again, the same thing. Just being that QRF force if need be, if something would happen. We did sit off the coast of Yemen for like 110 days, so we were on River City. But that was pretty much it for that deployment. And then I re-enlisted just to go to Afghanistan. But hey, be careful what you wish for. Because you might just get it.
On these MEU missions, so you're not just sitting there. You're training. You're constantly training, right?
Yeah. We're constantly training. So, like, my plan of the day would be, so you'd wake up in the morning, you go PT on the flight deck usually, and then you come back, you eat lunch or you eat breakfast. You get done with breakfast, you kick a bunch of classes, do some more training, maybe do some weapons drills down in the loading dock bay. Down there, then you eat lunch, and then after lunch you probably go to the gym and work out, and then you just continue this vicious cycle for the whole 6 months you're on ship.
Yeah.
Unless you get off the reports, and then you get to have fun.
Hats off to you. I don't know if I could do the ship thing, but it'd be tough.
Yeah,
for me.
man, it's weird.
Well, so you re-enlisted, and then you mentioned you re-enlisted to go to Afghanistan.
Yeah, because I joined the infantry to go to war. Like, that was the whole reason I joined. As a man.
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah.
So you go. How did that deployment start out? Just kind of walk us through it, and then just
my Afghan
take
deployment.
us through that deployment. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started off. So I re-enlisted. And I actually deferred my duty station to make sure that I could definitely go to Afghanistan. So I was actually trying to go with 3-5, but 3-5 was only taking lance corporals and below, so E3 and below. They weren't taking any corporals at the time, which, you know what, turns out to probably be a good blessing because they got hit pretty hard in Sangin. So what happened was my lieutenant was talking to me, and he's like, hey, Corporal Sust, don't go to the unit you were thinking about going, stay here. And I was like, why? You got to give me more than that. He's like, well, we're switching. So I said, okay. So I called the monitor. I told him I wanted to stay in 2-4. So I did my whole enlistment time with 2-4. We deployed to Afghanistan in September 1st of 2011. I got to Afghanistan. And got there. We flew in the Leatherneck. And then Leatherneck's a big city type thing. Really no action going on, just kind of lackadaisical. You got, shops, you got restaurants, you got everything there. So That was that. And then we got pushed to our AO, which is our operating area. And in my mind, I thought as soon as the bird would land, we were going to take contact. That's not what happened at all. It was pretty easy day. And we just, ripped with the other unit that was there. I can't remember the unit we ripped with. But they took us out on the first patrol, and I remember my first patrol, and I definitely had the pucker factor. But the Marines we were ripping with, they weren't even Condition 1. They were like Condition 4 when we went on this patrol. They're like, we're not going to get shot at. If you want to get shot at, you got to go over here. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was kind of my introduction into Afghanistan. So everything I thought was going to happen, like for movies or whatever, talking to your buddies, none of that happened. It was really slow until after we officially ripped and that unit left, and then really it picked up.
Right. Well, a lot of times when you do that, and the old units exfil and new units coming in, a lot of times it'll pick up because they're trying to test that new unit. They kind of know that previous unit, how they dealt with things, and they want to see how you all are going to deal with things, so they'll kick up the pressure on that. But so that's kind of what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The Taliban's not dumb. They're pretty smart. They've been doing it for centuries. It's the same warfare hasn't changed, and they haven't lost yet. So, they know what they're doing. And, when you think about Afghanistan, the way I describe it, think about it as Jesus' times with mopeds. Because it is really like going back in time when you're over there.
Right. no, for sure.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, people wouldn't, I don't think some people here could really grasp how that culture and the way they operate and the way that they live. I mean, people just can't understand it, I don't think. I mean, you have to see it.
Right. And then especially where we were, I was in Helmand, so we're at the southern end of Afghanistan, but like people see like Kabul and think like this big city. Like where I was, there was none of that, man. It was mud huts. Some people had electricity, some people didn't. They might have had one tractor for the whole village. And the village elder runs things. So trying to get democracy down to an area like that is it's impossible. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're just doing their own thing.
Right. And I
can't blame them.
I mean, it's just the way they've operated for centuries, and they're the way they view the hierarchy. Like you said, the senior elder, he runs everything, and then we could get into a whole discussion about how they treat women, which is absolutely insane. People here, if they could actually witness that, some of these people, they would be speechless.
Oh yeah. Not only that, but just the things you see when you're over there and Chai Boys. I don't want to get into all that, but you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just a totally different world, and it's something that most people just have no idea and can't connect to, and it's really not something that you really want to talk about, on a radio show. So, but anyway, so you get down in that, and so I assume you just go straight into just patrolling, and I'm sure that the hits
straight in patrolling. So we started off at PBs, which are patrol bases for the people that don't know, and we had our own patrol base. My first patrol base was PV Rogers, and my platoon was there, so second platoon. Well, after like 3 weeks to a month, everybody ended up closing down our patrol bases, and we went to Camp Shergazi, the whole company. So all the different platoons had patrol bases on the outskirts of Shergazi, and then we closed all those, and we moved to Shergazi, and then we started pushing to, I believe, the northeast area, towards Ugly Hill.
Right, and that's all coming down from higher because of, for whatever intel they have on the Taliban.
Correct.
And all that, yeah. So, okay, so you're doing all your patrols on your patrol bases, and so at what part of that deployment did it really start to get exciting and kind of, I don't want to say exciting like I'm a warmonger or something, but that's your job.
You mean real?
So,
like when it got real?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably when my brother Ben was killed. October 6th is really when it became real, like real. Because you think you're invincible, especially, when you first get your first contact or whatever, and you got that adrenaline dump, and that you just feel like such a man. I don't even know how to explain it, but it is the best high of your life. There's nothing like that out there. But here's what they don't tell you about the war. When one of your brothers dies, you don't get a chance to mourn their life. The war doesn't stop. It sucks. And you just have to carry on the plan of the day. You might smoke a cigarette. You might talk with your boys. You're going to cry. And that's it. That's all you can do. But you don't get to mourn. You don't get to have a timeout. It's like, no, we still got patrols to do. We still got stuff to do. The war doesn't end, and we have a mission to complete. And for me, that was hard, man. That was real hard. Like one of your brothers dies, and you don't even get a chance to mourn, and you just got to continue on with the mission. And being a NCO, you have to hold all that emotion back and not let your other Marines see that, because you still have a job to do. You still have Marines that are under your charge that you have to take care of. But that's when it became
right. Real. Yeah, man. And a lot of
6th.
people. It's just a big thing. A lot of people don't understand the mental stress that it takes to operate in a war zone. But we're going to take another quick break here for a commercial and a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to continue on with the story. Stay tuned.
So put your weapon next to mine. Put your weapon next to mine.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggin. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, right on down the line. Come on over. Come on over. What's that over?
Attention, looking for semi-drivers nationwide. GTS Transportation of Burr Ridge, Illinois is looking to hire or partner with experienced CDL holders in every state. If you are going to drive, why not drive for the best? Whether you are driving solo, as a team, or as an owner-operator, GTS is looking to add you to their rapidly growing company. Become part of one of the most respected, driver-friendly, and successful transportation companies in America, where drivers are treated as royalty. Contact us at gtscarrier.com. Again, gtscarrier.com. Or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. We would love to help you, which in turn helps everyone. GTS is an equal opportunity employer.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Wounded But Not Broken, hosted by Patrick Scroggin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.
Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Well, we're going to dive right back into this and kind of pick up the pace here a little bit. Josh, can you talk about when your first buddy or brother got? Can you walk us through that engagement of what happened and how he passed away?
Yeah. So I was actually on G-Boss duty at PV Rogers, and I'll never forget it. We were just sitting there, and all of a sudden, River City goes on the net. So once you hear that, you know something happened. You don't know exactly what. You just know someone got hurt, either possibly maimed or killed. Birds were coming in. Long story short, we still didn't know. The next day, we had Marines coming back from Shergazi, and I asked Cody, I said, hey, do you know who it is? Because we found out someone was killed. We just didn't know who. And he said, yeah. I know who it is. I said, you going to tell me? And he's like, I can't. The lieutenant said he wants to talk to you. And then I was like, do I know who it is? And he's like, yeah. And then, like, for me, that, you know, it sucked. And then once my lieutenant told me it was Lance Corporal Schmidt, Ben Schmidt, who was a sniper, and the way Ben was killed was it was actually friendly fire. So the tanks with the coax lit him up. And that's how he died.
Man, that just makes. I mean, it's never easy to lose a friend or lose. You don't ever want to see a life. You really don't want to see a life gone on either side. But you know, and when a situation arises like that, a friendly fire incident, man, that's a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah, it was a whole different ball game. All right.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. And so, were you hurt on this deployment, or was it another one?
Yeah, I was hurt on this deployment. So that was October 6th. I got injured November 12th, 2011. So my alive day was a couple of days ago. It was 10 years. And I was in a vehicle, and I was in the second Vic. We left with 3. Our lieutenant was telling us to come back because we were supposed to drop off supplies to the unit that was going to be patrolling. He ended up picking up position, and they were no longer at that grid. So we turned around, and when we were driving on this road, I just remember looking down, and then I had a gut feeling like, hey, that's a good spot. And before I could even think of spot, it was just complete silence and white. Obviously not from a biblical standpoint. I don't think it was God. I think it was the blast, obviously, from the blast. I made everything white. But the weirdest part about it, man, it was probably the most peaceful experience I ever had.
Wow. Tell us about it.
It was, yeah, man, it was just, so we hit, and then I just remember floating because I got ejected out of my seat. My door got blown off. I went with it, and the last image I have is my Kevlar coming off my head, and then I woke up. I was on the ground, and then I woke up, and I didn't realize exactly what happened, but I looked to my left, and my truck was there, and I actually have a little video of this, not that exact moment, but like 5 minutes after that moment, when the doc comes up to me, and I ask him, hey, is it messed up? Talking about my arm, and he's like, yeah, it's definitely broken. So I do have some footage of that. But yeah, Gotcha. It was just, I woke up, and once I realized what was going on, I started assessing myself. So I checked my junk to make sure that was still there. I could move my left leg, but I had pain in my left foot, and my whole right side of my body was fine. But when I meant to move my left arm, it would not move at all. And then I felt like someone dropped a 5-gallon bucket of water on my head, and then when I went to wipe with my right hand, it was blood. So I was kind of freaking out. And then I was trying to get to my IFAC, which I really couldn't get to because my left arm was just not moving. I didn't realize at the time, but I had open fractures. So I was trying to get everything going on my right side, which is really hard. And then we ended up getting ICOM chatter that the Taliban saw the blast and they're getting ready to set up snipers in our position. So then they had to move me off the X. And at this point in time, Doc, I am begging for him to give me the shot of morphine. He didn't give me anything. He said, you have an injury, it can kill you. And I was like, oh, I don't care. Just give it to me. And we still joke about it to this day because he didn't give it to me. So I didn't have any pain medicine until that bird landed, dust off, and they took me away to Bastion.
Right. And so walk us through kind of your experiences from there, what you remember, and tell us the extent of your injuries, once you figured it out.
Yeah, so once they splinted up my arm, they carried me up to another MAT V. They put me inside that MAT V, and I am in the adrenaline starting to wear off, and here comes the pain. And I am begging somebody for a cigarette because I am hurting. So my buddy Swafford throws me a cigarette. I smoked that thing in like 5 seconds. And I was like, you got another one? He just throws me the pack. So at this point in time, they're already called in the Z-Mist, get the bird on station. The bird's coming in. It lands. They get off the Black Hawk. They come up to our vehicle. They have a stretcher, and I was like, I'm not getting on that. So I had 2 Marines carry me to the bird. They carried me to this bird. This lady comes up, pops up in her visor. Most beautiful blue eyes I've ever seen in my life. I say that, but I was in Afghanistan. I didn't see a lot of women at the time, so they could have just been really blue and pretty, and I just got blown up, so who knows. But anyway, they fly me to Bastion. I land in Bastion, and being the mommy boy that I am, the first thing that comes to my mom is I need to call my mother, just because I want her to know what happened to me. So they get me in. I asked to make a phone call because I'm still coherent during all this. And I try to call my mom. It's probably like 2 o'clock in the morning here. She doesn't answer. So they take me back, do some x-rays. They bring me back out. And I said, I want to try to call my mom again. So it was probably about 20 minutes later. I end up calling my mom again. She answers the phone. Now, granted, what came out of my mouth was probably the best thing to tell your mom. But when she answered the phone, she said, Josh, it's so good to hear your voice. And the next thing out of my mouth is, don't freak out. I just got blown up. And she lost it. She starts screaming and hollering. She hands the phone to my little brother, Jacob. He gets on the phone. He's like all sleepy. He's like, hello? I'm like, hey, I got blown up. I'm going back to surgery. I'll talk to you guys later. I love you. Bye. And that was it. And then I had surgery. But when they're reeling me back into surgery to clean me up, they were playing If I Die Young on the radio. So I don't like that song very much anymore.
I bet not. I bet your mom, no. That's crazy. I bet your mom was I bet she wasn't too happy about that. She'd probably still hear about that to this day.
Oh, yeah, man. She's like, you gave me these gray hairs. Like, I never hear the end of it. And then she was trying to catch a flight to Afghanistan. Like, Mom went all mama bear trying to find out where I was. And I'm like, well, I'm okay. Because when the Marine Corps got a hold of her, they just told her I got hurt, and I had, like, facial injuries. I had injuries to my arm and my leg. And that's all the information they would give her.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of because I understand why they do that now. I didn't really at the time, but I do now. Is because with our injuries and everything that goes on in the infections, it's
right.
It's a constantly changing process. So where you may have lost your foot, and next thing you know, you're missing your leg above your knee because of infection or whatever it might be. So
right, yeah.
So I mean, I understand that. Yeah, it happened to me. So
exactly.
Once you get out of surgery, like at what point did you find out how bad you were messed up?
Probably a couple of days out of surgery. So I didn't lose my leg right away. I was limb salvaged for 3.5 years. So they limb salvaged my leg. They fixed me up, gave me plates and screws, skin grafts, all that jazz. Same thing with my arm. And they sent me I flew from Bastion to Manas to Germany for a week. I was constantly having surgeries. Everything was getting washed out. And then finally ended up at Balboa Hospital in California, where I spent the next 2.5 years of my Marine Corps career.
Right. Yeah, just trying to overcome all the trauma and then trying to get better at the therapy. And you say a limb salvage, so kind of explain what a limb salvage is, because some people might not understand or might not know.
Yeah, so limb salvage is where they do everything in their power to save your limb. They don't want to amputate it right away. They want to wait. And basically they want to wait until you can't take it anymore. And that was 3.5 years in, because I was ready to end my life if I had this damn thing still.
Right.
Because
so did you have
what's that? Did I have an
I'm sorry.
No, I didn't have an asphyxiator. I had they put in a bunch of plates and screws, and my tib fib was all shattered. I had no more cartilage left in my ankle, and they did some work on my heel, so I had a bunch of pins in my toes and stuff. But I didn't have the asphyxiator, no.
Oh, man, I bet that was painful. I bet you were like, cut it off.
Yeah, man, well, especially when you see, you start to know these guys, and they're limb salvage, and they cut it off, and then they're back to normal 6 or 7 months later. You know what I mean? Like, you just see the progression. So when I was first in the hospital, I was non-weight bearing for 9 months. I was in a power chair for 9 months. Wow. And during that time, I wasn't making the best choices about my eating habits. You know what I mean? Like, we had a 24/7 McDonald's, and I had a loving mother that would go get me McDonald's whenever I wanted it. So I started putting on the weight, and then you're getting all these pills, and then that's really, then the dreams started. Right, so I started having these vivid-ass dreams, and I didn't want to get to sleep anymore. So then they were putting me on Seroquel and Trazodone to make me go to sleep, and then I'm sleeping for 15 hours. Well, you can't function like that. Your only job while you're at the hospital is occupational therapy and physical therapy, and then every once in a while they want you to do formations. But I can't go to formation if I can't get up at 8 o'clock in the morning because I'm taking all this medicine.
Right. So do you think that you became dependent on pain pills and sleeping pills?
Oh, for sure.
How was that? Sure. How was that challenge to get off of them?
It was hard, man. Like I said, after I got medically retired out of the Marine Corps, and I was just trying to find myself and just kind of picture where everything was, because I was 24 years old when I got hurt. I was at the top of my, we'll call it, career as a Marine. I did what I wanted to do. I was still cocky, headstrong. I was in the best shape of my life. And then this happened. And it sets everything back. It set everything real back. And then you're on all this medicine, and you're getting addicted to painkillers. You're getting addicted to sleep meds because you don't want to go to sleep because of the nightmares. And then when you don't get the nightmares, you're angry, you're cranky, you're not a pleasant person to be around. Your family doesn't want to be around you because you're just a dick all the time. And I can't blame them.
Right. Yeah, it's a very tough It's a very tough thing, and I think you're describing it well, and you're going to continue to describe that when we come back. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
So put your weapon next to mine. Put your weapon next to mine.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggin. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, right on down the line. Come on over. Come on over. What?
My father was the best truck driver I've ever known in my life. Like a family tradition.
I'm a truck driver myself. I drove around the States with my cat.
To be the truck driver, you not just only see where you go, you see the world in the larger perspective.
This is a really good time to be in the trucking industry. The dispatchers get good loads for them. The equipment is very new, and then it's very reliable.
At GTS Transportation, we make dreams come true by employing truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics, and many other occupations. Consider joining our rapidly expanding team where we put quality, human dignity, and respect back into the workforce. Contact us by visiting our website at gtscarrier.com or call us at 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Broadcast Network for over 19 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution has been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Wounded But Not Broken, hosted by Patrick Scroggin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.
Welcome back to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I just want to make one quick statement here. These stories that you hear on this show are raw, and they're the truth. And this is what these soldiers lived through, what I lived through. And it's not always easy to hear. Sometimes it's very graphic. And I just want people to be aware that it's not like we're trying to gross anybody out or anything like that. It's just I want these stories to be real. I want them to be just how they happened, to be able to paint a vivid picture for what the soldier today has to deal with when he gets injured. And so that being said, Josh, take us to the day that you decided to amputate your leg, because you had the choice, right? They were trying to save your leg, and you ultimately made the decision to cut it off.
I sure did. The biggest deciding factor was when I didn't want to live anymore. 2014, I guess you could say it's a suicide attempt, but I stuck a rifle in my mouth, but I didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason. So there's that. And once that happened, I realized, like, something's got to give, because I was just living in a cloud, man. My life was not enjoyable. I was high all the time from the painkillers. The pain was outrageous. I wasn't happy. And for me, my inspiration was seeing people that have done the limb salvage and amputated before and knowing the outcome. And I had guys tell me, like, hey, it's not everything you think it's going to be, but it might be better. I was like, well, being better is being better, and it's better than being dead, because that's where I'm headed. I just didn't want to live anymore. So I went and met my doctor, Dr. Amos, at the Cincinnati VA. I sat down with him and I said, sir, this is what I want. This is why I want it. And this is what's going to happen after it gets done. And he agreed to do it in 2.5 months. I literally cried when he said he'd do it, because I knew at that point it was going to change my life in so many ways for the better.
Wow. Yeah. That the suicide part's pretty powerful, especially since you're willing to share that. A lot of people aren't willing to share that because for some reason people look at that as a weakness or something. I want to make it very clear it's not a weakness. It's I've said many times on this show that you can never relate to what these soldiers have to put up with, what they've been through, what they've seen, and the amount of pain that you live with on a daily basis when you get hurt. It takes a different breed of cat, man. I mean, it's a hard life, but it's better than the alternative. And I think that's how we all see it, is we all have something to live for, and we try to find that, and we try to push through it. And it sounds like that's what you did. And man, kudos to you. I'm super proud of you for that. So when you did get it amputated, I know you went through the rehab and you did all that. How did that change your life? Was it instant? Did it take a little bit of time?
2 weeks after the amputation, I didn't take any more pain pills. I was done. I was like, I'm done with these. I don't need them. And I stopped. I just got off of them. I got off all my meds, man. That day when I stopped the painkillers, I stopped everything. I stopped taking trazodone. I stopped taking mini-prez. I stopped taking Zoloft. I stopped taking it all.
Yeah.
And it really helped me open up my mind and clear everything up. It made me feel alive again.
Right. Yeah, and once you flush that stuff out of your system, then you feel like you again, and now you got a new sense of accomplishment and a new sense of pride and drive, right?
Right. And then on top of that, I have brothers that are missing multiple limbs or just one limb. I mean, I'm just a BK, right? So it's a paper cut. That's what we all call it. People, a gas over that term, a paper cut when you're missing a leg. But that's what us in the military people call it. You know what I mean? So I'm very thankful that I have that outlet of guys and ladies that I can talk to and have as inspiration. Like Pacheco, right? For instance, I know you know Jason. I don't know if probably other people don't know who he is, but I was fortunate enough to serve with Jason all throughout my military career. Me and Jason served in 2-4 together. So I knew Jason before he got hurt, and then everything he's accomplished since then, man, it's been a huge inspiration to me. It's like, okay, this guy can do everything. And, it's not easy. It's hard to have that chip on your shoulder and you carry out everything with your rest of your life going on. And then you got guys like Matt Amos and Mike Fox and Jason Hallett and you and all the other guys I met through, that's another thing, like Wounded Warrior Outdoors. That's where a lot of us have met, and I'm very thankful for Ron and what he's created for us to get together and have that experience. Because, man, I know you know this as much as I do, but there is nothing more like that. You talk about the brotherhood. Yes, the brotherhood runs deep in the Marine Corps, but the brotherhood of the wounded runs deeper than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the events that WWO puts on to get everybody together, unscripted, off camera, where you can just be you. I mean, we could not air what goes on at them events, but it is.
No, you cannot. But that's the best part because, it's just us being ourselves.
Right. It's that camaraderie, and it's being around people that have walked in the same footsteps as you, people that are willing to lay their life on the line for something greater than themselves, and I think that forms a brotherhood that most people can't imagine. Yeah,
I mean it's hard to even comprehend, but we're very fortunate to be put in that situation, and I think for me personally, this has been my 10-year alive day in November. The 12th. So for me, what I used to think is coincidence or luck or just getting by, I now think is providence. And what I mean by that is, I think this is where God wants me to be. And it's kind of crazy to think about that because of what happened. But I mean, to be honest with you, man, like after the whole Afghanistan thing happened, it really put me down in a spiral. And I had to get away. I had to get out of my own mind because I was questioning everything. Was it worth it? Was the sacrifice worth it? Was it worth it for my friends that died? It was some heavy shit. And I got away, and I went back to the stomping grounds in Camp Pendleton and climbed up First Sergeant Hill and visited the crosses. and just, sat down, talked with the guys that are no longer there, but their memorials are there. And, I talked, I wept, I prayed, and it was an amazing thing to have, just like the whole suicide thing. I think we as men are taught that, your emotions, you're supposed to push deep down inside and not let that out. But, man, that's a wrong way to go about life. You need to release those emotions. It's healthy to do that. That's actually a good thing, to release that and not keep it all buried down inside so it just blows up on you.
Absolutely. I mean, a real man can control his emotions, but also can let them go when it need to be go, or when you need to let them go, because you can't keep that stuff bottled up. And that's where you're talking about that wounded camaraderie like WWO puts on. When guys, we get together like that, I mean, there's always one of them moments to where everybody's just like, oh, damn. It's just one of them silent moments that we're all on the same page. We know what we're thinking, and it's just touching. It's very hard to explain. But I guess you kind of gotta be there. But man, I really appreciate you coming on tonight and telling your story. And, happy, I guess a little late alive day. Super glad you're here, man. And I commend you for everything you've overcame and pushed through, and everything you continue to do for the wounded warrior community, man. You're a true testament to what we all should be.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. And the only thing I got left for the people listening is, no matter who you are, no matter where we come from, or no matter what happens to us, it doesn't define us.
Absolutely. That's well said. I don't think anybody could say it better, man. I'm right there with you, and I hope everybody tonight could connect on that level, that personal level of what you went through and what we all go through. And it's up to us. It's up to us to keep this alive and take care of our brothers and sisters that are going to come behind us. And that's the biggest
Correct.
reason why I wanted to do this. And
because
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, that was my motivation for this. I don't want to leave a brother or sister behind, and if you can touch one life, man, you're doing your job.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? The sad part about it is we're not going to be the last ones. You know what I mean? There's going to be another war that kicks off right behind us.
Absolutely. I mean, it's inevitable. It sucks to say, but it's inevitable, and it's just the way it's going to go. And that being said, this show is very important to me, and I look forward to it every week. And I think if you go back and listen to this show tonight, there's some very emotional things, some things shared by Josh that a lot of people probably wouldn't share. And I think going through the situations that we go through and dealing with all the emotions, all the trauma that we go through, I think most wounded guys are most of them are pretty good about sharing their emotions and understanding that they have to get them hard things out, and like with combat, I guess you could define it as hours of boredom followed by moments of sheer terror. And for the guys that are wounded, the moments turn into days, months, and even years. And they have to live with that stuff for the rest of their life. And this is one way, they can give back, is to share their story so nobody maybe makes the mistakes that they make. And so I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This has been a pleasure for me to do this show. I know Josh really well. He's a great dude. And I just would like to say right before I go, GTS Transportation, our sponsor for this show and for BBN, they're looking to hire a director of human resources. And so if anybody's interested in that, you can listen to the commercials and get the number and be happy for you to call in and help GTS out. And they're great people. It's a great company. And I wish everybody a happy Monday night, and I really appreciate you tuning in. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.
You're listening to Wounded But Not Broken with host Patrick Scroggins.
Attention, looking for semi-drivers nationwide. GTS Transportation of Burr Ridge, Illinois is looking to hire or partner with experienced CDL holders in every state. If you are going to drive, why not drive for the best? Whether you are driving solo, as a team, or as an owner-operator, GTS is looking to add you to their rapidly growing company. Become part of one of the most respected, driver-friendly, and successful transportation companies in America, where drivers are treated as royalty. Contact us at gtscarrier.com. Again, gtscarrier.com. Or call us at 847-754-4600. 847-754-4667. That number again, 847-754-4667. We would love to help you, which in turn helps everyone. GTS is an equal opportunity employer.
Dallas Corporation and Dallas Logistics, a proud supporter of the Veterans Radio broadcast for over 15 years. High-quality printing services and warehouse distribution have been our hallmark since 1985, serving Fortune 100 companies for over 35 years. Check us out at www.dallascorp.com.
VBN, Veterans Broadcast Network, brings you Wounded But Not Broken, hosted by Patrick Scroggin. It lies within you to conquer your greatest challenges. Patrick tackles the stories of how others faced unthinkable odds, and then at a pivotal moment, a change occurred within them that gave them the strength, attitude, and direction to excel beyond the greatest expectations. Listen every week and learn how it is possible to defeat the impossible.